Remember the time when Christine Ha broke down because she thought her apple pie wouldn't come together?
Christine has the last pie to be tasted.
Yeah, it actually got Chef Ramsay showing his soft side for a second there.
Never had a blind contestant. Welcome.
But hey, that wasn't the only time when things got really dramatic on MasterChef, because this next contestant brought everyone to tears.
Micah, please give us a moment. Thank you.
I'm talking about Micah, a contestant with a passion for cooking unlike anyone else.
Positively looked on by anyone in my family.
In episode 21, the judges had something crazy planned out for the contestants.
Cure for homesickness.
No way. No way.
Yeah, a family reunion. I know they do this pretty much every season, but it really touches me each and every time it happens.
Dorian, here's your husband.
My husband, Charles, I call him my big cup of chocolate.
But this time around, not everyone was lucky to have their family around.
Now, Micah, unfortunately, Mum and Dad can't be here.
It was so disheartening to see Micah lost amidst a sea of chefs who were reuniting with their folks. It wasn't just about their physical absence. It was the gross lack of support from his family to pursue his culinary dreams is what hurt him most. And Chef Ramsay already knew all of that was going on.
Tonight, you're not alone, okay? You're with us.
Chef Ramsay, who came from a difficult childhood himself, was able to connect with Micah on a whole other level here.
Has never really been positively looked on.
But it wasn't just Chef Ramsay. Dorian also swooped Micah into a hug to share the motherly love he lacked. With that reassurance, Micah set out to face the immunity challenge, where the contestants had to prepare a dish that not only impressed the judges, but also their loved ones. However, before getting things started, Micah had a few more feelings to work through.
My mother really... My mom really inspired me to get to cooking.
Well, I can't imagine how hard it must be to carry the burden around. Micah's voice trembled as he wore his heart on his sleeves.
And I really wish that she could be here right now, but I can't think about that.
But there was one looming question.
That's a knuckle down and get immunity tonight, or...
Well, Micah was definitely willing to rise from the ashes. He had before, and he was determined to do that again. He wanted to prove his worth to the judges, and he didn't want his emotions to get the better of him. And thankfully, he had Chef Ramsay on his side.
I've been in your situation at 19. Hey, I've been ignored by my...
Chef Ramsay tried to boost his confidence and encouraged him to follow his dreams too.
You may not have any immediate family here, but I consider you as family.
Soon enough, it was time to present the dish he'd worked on, and guess what Micah came up with?
It is a pistachio and juniper crusted lamb chop with a date and pomegranate lap.
As the judges tasted his lamb chop, the tension in the room was palpable. Micah's heart was in his throat as he awaited their verdict.
The problem for me is that it's not pink, it's stone red raw.
Unfortunately, Micah's dish hit the plate undercooked, and he was pushed into facing the pressure test. But this was no ordinary pressure test. Each of the contestants not only had to cook what Chef Ramsay made, but also cook alongside him at his pace. I shouldn't need to tell you how hard that is for a bunch of amateurs, right? Well, while Chef Ramsay moved with precision from one step to the next, the contestants were scrambling to keep up with him. One slip up, and it could be lights out then and there. And sadly, Micah had more than a few slip-ups.
Medic, please, quickly. Sorry, Micah, we can't stop.
To make things worse, he even cut himself.
Bend it quickly.
Open your fingers.
The cut has set me back.
Despite that, Micah rallied against time to plate a dish worthy of the judges. But would it be enough to keep him in the competition? Micah was the last one to present his dish, and unfortunately, they weren't saving the best for last here.
You are literally about 2 minutes away from there.
His fish was undercooked, however the minestrone and vegetables turned out pretty decent, fortunately. But would this be enough to keep him on the show? Micah was praying for a miracle, hoping another contestant would have faltered just as much as him, if not more. But sadly, that wasn't the case.
Micah.
Micah's best attempt had failed to impress the judges. But let's cut him some slack here. The dude wasn't functioning at his best. It's crazy to put someone through so much emotional turmoil and then expect them to shine in a pressure test that seriously could have wrecked even some of the top chefs in the world. However, Micah could barely hold his head up. He started to feel like he wasn't worthy of sharing the stage with everybody else. But Chef Ramsay wasn't about to let him leave disheartened. He decided to give him a once-in-a-lifetime offer.
Once we're finished with this competition, I want to set up a meeting to help guide you to where you'd like to go.
He knew that the dude was capable of more, and he wasn't about to let his talents go to waste. Micah was so stunned that he could barely articulate his feelings.
This entire competition has completely changed my life.
His journey might have come to an end, but his spirit remained unbroken. But you know what's worse than going out on a bittersweet note? Getting eliminated after presenting the best dish of the challenge. I know how strange that sounds, but trust me, Andrea's story from season 7 had exactly that happen. So Andrea found herself in the elimination round, and the challenge she had to face was nowhere near an easy one.
Sausage in a bun.
Now, you must be thinking it's a simple task, but wait till you hear the catch.
All have to grind and case.
Now this wasn't a challenge for the week. At the start of the challenge, Christina made it clear to all the contestants that they needed to have their sausage in a bun ready at the front table within 60 minutes. It was like setting the stage for a culinary showdown, with everyone feeling the pressure to deliver on time.
Your station, you're ending down here.
Yes, chef.
Sadly, not everyone could follow through with that rule. Anyway, during the challenge, Edward Lee paid Andrea a visit, and despite all the tough times they were facing, Andrea was brimming with confidence.
Good, chef.
What are you making?
I'm making a bratwurst, chef.
She excitedly shared her plans for the dish, whipping up a bratwurst nestled in beer-infused caramelized onions, drizzled with a zesty currywurst ketchup, all snugly enveloped in a warm pretzel roll. Although Edward wasn't on board with her concept, Andrea had the perfect response for that.
I'm a traveler and I love food from other countries.
Andrea was really cutting it close with time. Even the judges were starting to worry for her. With less than a minute left, Andrea decided to put her sausage back in the pan, and pretty much everyone was concerned if she would be able to make it in time.
20 seconds remaining.
With 5 seconds left, Andrea was still standing at her station, trying to finish her plating while the other contestants were dashing towards the front. She arrived a few seconds after the time was up, and if you know anything about MasterChef, its rule breaking isn't going to be something that's glossed over. Even the judges were beyond stressed for her, and not to mention disappointed. She was so focused on perfecting her dish that she completely forgot about taking her dish to the front. Honest mistake really, but not something you can turn a blind eye to. So, Andrea was the third contestant to have her sausage in a bun tasted. Once Chef Ramsay took a bite of sausage, he was pretty impressed.
Moist.
Thank you, chef.
It was so moist that when he cut it into slices, it was still glistening. But that's not all. He was so impressed that he gave a piece to each of the other contestants, wanting them to know what a perfect sausage tastes like. You could say all her efforts to perfect the dish paid off.
That's it. Great recipe. I think that's going to be one in my book.
If you thought Chef Ramsay was done singing its praises, then you're so wrong.
Really good job.
Thank you, chef.
Delicious.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no compliment that can beat Chef Ramsay asking for permission to have your recipe in his cookbook. But the good times came to an end. When it was time to call out the worst dishes, something unexpected happened.
Best sausage of the night, okay?
Rules are rules, guys.
See, Chef Ramsay went above and beyond to support Andrea, doing everything in his power to prevent her from being eliminated. However, Christina struggled to come to terms with the fact that she had knowingly broken the one rule that they were instructed not to break.
I am so sorry.
I bet Chef Ramsay wasn't in agreement, but well, rules are rules.
I'm so sorry. Rules are rules.
Andrea just completely broke down, tears streaming down her face, confessing that she totally messed up. Can you believe it? Getting eliminated for being just 3 seconds late even though she nailed her dish? But here comes the biggest rivalry the show has ever seen. Now, Courtney here had just won a challenge and had the power to pair everyone up. So it was no surprise that Leslie and Aaron were stuck working with each other. Back in the pantry, Leslie, trying to avoid drama, agreed to go along with whatever Aaron wanted. Now, keep that relationship of theirs in mind while we fast forward to episode 12's prawn pressure test. A live prawn pressure test specifically. And to make things worse, they had to be prepared in 3 ways: ceviche, tempura, and butterflied. But when they got down to it, Aaron was visibly struggling. Meanwhile, Leslie was surprisingly humble, watching his nemesis hit a stumbling block.
Behind me, they're just as good. We're the top 10 here. This is no joke.
As the pressure mounted, Aaron started cracking.
Really stressed right now.
Hey, you can do this.
She was almost in tears. That's when Chef Ramsay stepped in with a pep talk, reminding her of her accomplishments up to that point and urging her to push through. When the tasting began, Leslie's dishes impressed the judges, but Aaron's had issues, especially with the ceviche. In the end, it came down to Leslie and Aaron, who had once despised each other but had formed a bond as the competition progressed.
Eldest versus our youngest. And how ironic is that when I think back on the battles and the...
But what was really the highlight here is what they said about each other, especially Leslie.
I've been growing, and to work out my differences with this young lady. She's not a girl. She's a young lady.
Sweet, right? Sadly, Leslie and the rest had to bid farewell to Aaron, with Leslie ultimately taking the win. But Aaron didn't go without saying a few words.
Leslie.
Love you, girl.
Wow. Now that is a turnaround and a half.
Aaron, graciously acknowledging Leslie's potential, predicted his win, leaving everyone a little misty-eyed. Damn. Talk about touching. But MasterChef's 13th season came with plenty of dramatic twists, and the regional team format was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, each of the prospective contestants from the Northeast were eager to secure a coveted spot in the competition, but not everybody was fortunate enough to make it. Now, allow me to draw your focus on Eddie, a 31-year-old party promoter from Brooklyn, who presented his unique pistachio tres leches with pistachio crumble, raspberry sauce, and creme anglaise.
I did a pistachio cake, a raspberry sauce, and a pistachio crumble.
Now, although Joe liked the presentation, he wasn't too sure about the taste, but that didn't stop him from giving him a yes to move on in the competition. Now, although Aaron had his own share of concerns, he also decided to give Eddie another chance. But Daphne was just not feeling it.
Quite the balance of sauce to cake that I would have liked to have seen. It's a no for me.
According to her, the sauce and the cake simply didn't work together. While Eddie hoped for better feedback from Chef Ramsay, all of his hopes were dashed when Chef Ramsay said that he wasn't too sure if Eddie was ready to take the pressure. Eddie's disappointment was palpable, but he wasn't prepared for what happened next.
And what I'm gonna do when you come back to New York, I'll take you in and tour my restaurants.
Joe offered Eddie a position at his restaurant in New York, something that nobody expected, but touched everybody's hearts all the same. While we have often seen Chef Ramsay step up for contestants who have potential, this is one of those rare times when Joe decided to make such a generous offer. And now, let's head over to MasterChef Junior Season 2, which had its own slew of dramatic moments. First up, there was Koko, a 10-year-old contestant who broke down in tears because she thought her mashed potatoes were too salty. But how was Chef Ramsay gonna take it?
It's too salty. Let's have a look. Right, is nothing in here, are they?
He surprised everyone by tasting her potatoes and gently explaining that she just didn't mix the seasoning all the way through. Then there was Isabella, who presented her chicken parmesan. But things didn't go too well for her either.
The sad news is the chicken is undercooked.
Chef Ramsay cut into it and realized it was completely raw. Poor Isabella was heartbroken. Back at her station, the other kids rallied around her, trying to cheer her up.
It is amazing feeling.
Yeah, wasn't that so wholesome to watch? Anyway, here comes a contestant who managed to win everyone's heart and yet made them cry all the same.
And I have a big sign with my name.
Yup, I'm talking about Luca from Season 4. Now, you may only remember him from Season 4, but if you're a die-hard MasterChef fan, then you would know that he made an even earlier appearance.
Buonasera, signori.
First name is?
My first name is Luca.
That's right, Luca tried his luck in Season 3. Sadly, his skills didn't meet the show's standards at the time.
This is tough. You can cook, but I know you can do better.
See, he may not have secured his apron in Season 3, but in Season 4, he came back with a whole lot to prove.
We're not going back to the job in New York. Usually MasterChef. Wow.
I mean, this dude had proved to the world that he was capable of this, and so much more. Nope, he wasn't the one to give up easily. And guess what? Amidst all the chaos, he turned out to be a dark horse to watch.
Congratulations on making it to the MasterChef finale.
Although he made it to the finale, to secure the victory was a different thing altogether, and Luca was determined to see it through.
Luca's showcases seared with brioche and peaches.
So, what happened is, in the final round, Luca and Natasha had 1 hour to prepare the perfect dessert.
Pressure is really on the both of you to nail your desserts.
And believe me, this round was no joke. The stakes were just too high to make even the slightest mistake. There was nowhere to hide.
With tomato jam, mascarpone honey cream.
And yeah, it sure sounded delightful, but guess what? He wasn't the only one who thought about making panna cotta.
Well, as a coconut panna cotta.
Yeah, what are the odds, right? Both finalists had come up with the same idea, and this left even the judges baffled.
We have come down to a panna cotta showdown.
Now, because of this unexpected coincidence, Luca had to give it his all. However, while preparing his dish, he was faced with a problem that could lead to his downfall.
In my panna cotta, this is a disaster.
I'm not sure what that means, but I'm pretty sure it's not the end of the world. Because if we know one thing about Luca, he's not one to give up that easily.
Over again.
And what do you know? When it was time for the judges to taste the dish, they were completely blown away by his dish.
It's sublime. But it's
And that's not all. He compliments continued to pour in,
it's wacky, it's delicious, and yeah, you've got me.
and it wasn't just Chef Ramsay who was a fan of the dish.
That is more you, out of control, refined in its technique.
But, well, our man Joe, bless his heart, picked up on one little flaw.
Should be a layer underneath, and then the panna cotta should lay on top, and maybe the mascarpone in between.
Regardless, the dish was a hit with the judges, and the fact that he made it this far was an accomplishment in itself. But guess what? Eventually, everything worked out in his favor, and guess who took the title home? Yup, a much deserving win, I'd say. Not like I have anything against Natasha, but seeing Luca win was so cathartic. I mean, just look at the guy. If happiness had a face, it would be him. His joy was a testament to resilience. It takes incredible strength to show up for the auditions and to try and fail and then come back to win the title. God, I don't even know what to say. Luca's journey was surely a heartwarming one, but the next pick for today, not so much. Now, heading straight into Season 6, Episode 8, where Amanda found herself facing a pressure test, her very first.
Saving yourself, something's wrong.
For me watching everything, my vote is Steven.
And if the kind of list I'm doing today didn't tip you off, well, it was her last. Now, every pressure test has its own set of challenges, but this time, the judges decided to shake things up a bit more than usual.
We want each of you to present us with something like this.
If you haven't guessed where this challenge is going, then let me help you.
Birthday cake. Beautiful, right?
Oh yeah, it was gonna be a nightmare. Considering how particular Christina is when it comes to baked goods, her own birthday cake, I can't even imagine. If that wasn't already challenging enough, there was a catch.
You like, as long as your cake is a minimum of 3 layers, has a beautiful frosting.
What a catch indeed. But Amanda, she had a different opinion.
Cake for myself on my birthday, so this is a piece of cake.
Sadly, the confidence took a nosedive in very short order. When it was time to take the cakes out from the oven, things didn't exactly go as planned.
Oh no, it collapsed.
Well, I'm no baking expert, but I do know that a cake that fails to rise is definitely a red flag. Despite that little setback, Amanda had to work with what she had. It's not like she was going to be able to start from scratch with this little time left. As she layered the cake, with every layer she worked on, her confidence took an even bigger hit.
To oblivion.
When Chef Ramsay came by her station to check on her cake, he was shocked to see the outcome.
I know.
I think that we're witnessing the moment right now.
None of the judges expected Amanda to fail at this challenge. Graham was so heartbroken that he worried they might have to send off their favorite contestant. But it was too late to fix things. All it took was one mistake, and Amanda's cake had completely deflated.
Too early, and I failed at a baking challenge.
Poor Amanda was heartbroken. She's been baking cakes forever, and she dreaded having to leave the competition over something so dear to her. However, Chef Ramsay still had faith in her.
Come on. Hey, use your frosting, your icing to patch it up.
Yes.
He told her to use her frosting to patch the cake up and treat it like plastic surgery. Seeing how upset she was, he even decided to cheer her up for a bit.
Look at my face. You can do this.
Thank you, Chef.
Come on.
Thank you, Chef.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was heartwarming to see Chef Ramsay going the extra mile just to bring a smile to her face. I mean, the dude surely knows when to go soft. And I'll tell you that you'll never see anything like this on Hell's Kitchen. Anyway, when it was finally time for judgment, Amanda was the second contestant to have her cake judged. She presented her vanilla sponge with Nutella buttercream and a strawberry filling with buttercream on the outside. But Graham almost immediately pointed out the obvious.
The center, clearly not done.
Despite the underdone cake, guess what? It tasted delicious.
Filling great, strawberries are done perfectly. Just what a shame.
Even though the flavors were there, it was a shame that the cake wasn't cooked all the way through. I mean, that was the very foundation of the challenge, no pun intended, and she had missed it big time. Although there was a small ray of hope.
You're not out of it yet.
Thank you.
Eventually, Amanda, Shelley, and Charlie were named as the bottom 3 contestants.
Great intention, but can't re-cook sponge.
Now, mind you, this was a double elimination challenge, which meant only one of them would survive to cook for another day. While Charlie was the first to be sent home, Amanda hoped that her flavors would save her from the inevitable. The suspense was real as the judges called Shelley to the front and asked her to take off her apron. But before Amanda could sigh in relief, the judges asked Shelley to head up to the balcony. And that only meant one thing.
Look at my face. You can do this.
Thank you, Chef.
Come on.
Thank you, Chef.
Let's go.
Yeah, gonna be honest here, Amanda's elimination was heartbreaking to say the least. However, she had some pretty nice words sent her way on her way out.
It's delicious.
Come on, don't even hang it.
Later, during her exit interview, she poured her heart out, describing her time on the show as truly incredible. And you know what? You're not gonna find me disagreeing with that. Anyway, can you think of more times when drama took center stage on MasterChef? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you loved the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And while you do that, don't forget to check out this next one right here. It's even better.